John, thanks for coming and being with us today.
Eric, thanks for having me here.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about ObservePoint.
Well, ObservePoint is my latest company that I started, even though we're now like 8 or 9 years into that company. But ObservePoint is a data quality assurance platform where we basically help people understand if the data that they're looking at is correct and that they can trust the information that they see in, for example, the Adobe Marketing Cloud.
Okay, great. And so data, of course, is a critically important role of digital experiences. So how do you define, what is a digital experience?
To me, a digital experience is just anything that somebody's interacting with in obviously this digital world. And those experiences are happening all around us more and more. I mean, we're being just overwhelmed, honestly, with data in this world. From everything that's being captured about us, from everything that we're clicking on to everything that we're interacting with television, with online. I mean, there's just so much stuff that's being collected about us. And so, that digital world just keeps expanding and expanding with how we're experiencing with it.
Right. And what do you see as the primary drivers that are changing these digital experiences?
Obviously, I think that just the overall technology, we're a much more connected world. When I started Omniture 20 years ago, the data world was so much smaller.
Right.
Your interactions just really barely existed. I remember back then how when I was first talking to people about site catalysts and tracking their websites, most of them looked at me and they're like, why would I care or want to track any of that information online? And now, not only are we tracking a website, we're tracking the mobile app, we're tracking the video interactions that are happening when somebody watches something, and there's just so many more touch points that exist in this data world now.
So how can a marketer determine which touch points are critical or which data points have real signal and meaning in this customer journey?
I actually think that's the hardest thing to do. There's now so much data that you can't look at it all, you can't analyze it all, and even if you have artificial intelligence looking at a lot of that data, just knowing which data points really should be more critical than others is difficult. I think it takes time for somebody to really think about, okay, what should we be measuring, because you can just create so much noise that it becomes useless to you. So
exactly. So are there examples of companies you think are doing digital experiences well?
For me, good companies that do digital experience well, it has to do with making sure that you're making that experience for somebody easier. Right? I think so many people, when they try to do their digital world, they're forcing it. They're like making up reasons to do digital stuff.
Right.
Probably a great example was one of the examples in the opening general session that we just had here at Adobe Summit, where they were talking about like Domino's Pizza, right? Just the simplicity of somebody being able to order online, order via their Kindle, whatever those are digital experiences that are just making it easier for you. I feel like a good digital experience is one that you don't even realize happened, right? It just made your life easier, and it was so seamless that it felt easy.
I love that you say that and you bring up that word easy, because oftentimes I think as marketers, we think of digital experiences and we're like, oh, we've got to make it personalized.
Yeah.
We've got to make it relevant. And that is important, but we almost sometimes do it at the expense of just making it simple and easy and convenient.
Yeah, like a great example would be like if I was ordering a pizza, and the simple fact of it remembering my favorite ones that I order and just had them there for me to click on and ship to me, right? I think that's an example of them making it easy, still using personalization, versus complicating the whole process.
Right. Now, ObservePoint, you mentioned that they're about data quality assurance, making sure you have accurate data, that the data is telling you something that's accurate, something you can act on. Why is that important, that accurate data? How did you come to that conclusion?
So when I started Omniture and we were collecting all this data for all these customers, I would say probably 90% of the reason that people would ever call us and complain about anything about the product had to do with data accuracy. And they would always start off with, why is the system broken? And it was never that the system was broken, it was actually that their implementation and how they were collecting data was broken. And so at ObservePoint, when I left Omniture and started ObservePoint, I just wanted to make sure that people could rely on the information, because if your underlying foundation of data is not correct, it doesn't matter what goes on top of it. It doesn't matter that you have Experience Manager or any of these tools that are going to utilize data. If that data is not accurate, it's going to make you make bad decisions and potentially waste a ton of money.
So is there a step one or a piece of advice that you give to marketers who want to make sure that their data is accurate?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about digital kind of data of like analytics and the marketing cloud, I think step one is making sure, one, that your tag management system actually has all the tags on your property. That's probably phase one of making sure that you have a good user experience, because Tag Manager is then going to fire all of your other tags. And it gets a lot deeper than that from a trustworthy data standpoint, but that's probably step one. If you want to make sure that things are right, make sure at least your tag management system actually has all the tags on the page, which a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that a tag management system is just another tag that's on the page that you actually have to validate and make sure is accurate and correct.
So let's say that a marketer has done that, they've done their due diligence, they're making sure that their data is accurate, they have a good solid foundation. How do they take accurate data and make great customer experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the $10 million question, right?
Just give us the quick answer.
And because that all varies depending on industry, business, everything that you're looking at. I think that you need to look at, make sure that you've picked the correct events like we were talking about before, that you're measuring and monitoring, so that you can take a look at this data and try and decide what are the best experiences that a person should have with your brand, and how you want to communicate with them, which is going to be different for Girl Scouts of America versus Domino's Pizza.
Well, we mentioned Domino's a little bit. Are there any other brands that you think are doing a good job of this?
Every day I see brands that I think have glimpses of genius in their experiences. I really do honestly feel like we still have a long ways to go. Simple things, like where I love how even the experiences of being able to go to Disneyland, and if you want your pictures taken, you now have a digital experience where you just take the card around and get all your pictures in one place. And I think that they're starting to embrace those things. But combining it all, I still think has a long way to go with most companies. And how do we also, I think, keep that under control with privacy, which is a huge concern, I think, overall in the industry, is the overseeing eye. If all of a sudden we're all wearing wearables and everything's tracking us everywhere, I think there is huge privacy concerns.
Well, it's very intimate data, isn't it, that people marketers can have access to, and it's certainly incumbent upon us to be honorable of that data.
And sometimes in our excitement, I think sometimes that's when some lines are crossed sometimes, when with marketers get really excited about something, and you have to ask yourself, okay, is that the right thing that we should be doing with this data?
Excellent. Well, John, this has been a fantastic conversation. Is there any final call to action, or is there a place where folks can go to learn more about ObservePoint?
ObservePoint.com, and I'm just excited to be here at my 15th summit. So maybe that's the record for everybody
John,
here.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Very much
Eric.
appreciate it. John Pestana with ObservePoint. Stay tuned for more interviews with experienced business experts live from Summit Tank here at Adobe Summit. Thank you.